this is going to be a great, fun summer at camp. And I can see deeply, deeply fulfilling for all of us. So thank you. And we're going to get into the conversation. But first, I'm going to pass it to Mari for the community offering.
Yes, looking forward to this conversation. We are a non-for-profit virtual spiritual community, and we exist on the generosity of our community members. We thank all of our members who have played your part. And I would like to take this moment to extend our gratitude for your generosity. We thank you for any donation that you can extend to our community and for the daily bread to add that. So I invite you to just go within and see what is yours to give. No gift is too small, and your generous donations allow us to bring more spiritual leaders like Gary Renard that we will have on the 16th, artists, speakers to Sunday service, and to keep these important conversations going. We really appreciate when you add your voice to our conversations. So as you were spiritually fed, I just invite you to see what is yours to give. There will be a donation link in the chat, so just check that out. And you can always find that link as well in our website, speakeasyspiritualcommunity.com. And I just want to take a moment to bless all of the gifts, all of your financial gifts. I know that as you give, you receive, and I leave it all in the hands of the divine to bring that abundance back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mari. That was beautiful. Well, now it's time for the truly unique experience of Speakeasy Sunday Service, our community conversation. And so this is where we're inviting you to speak and to speak easily, to find your voice, your truth, to share your thoughts and inspirations and awarenesses. What a great conversation we're going to have. First of all, I just wanted to say, I think I have some of those marbles. And I'm going to look for them. Otherwise, I may have lost my marbles. Um, but I will still be here in this conversation, moving deeper into all these amazing qualities. And one of the things you said is self-love is a prerequisite to be a teacher of God. So, first, to extend all of these 10 characteristics: trust, honesty, tolerance,
Yeah.
gentleness, joy, defenselessness,
Yeah.
generosity, patience,
Mhm.
faithfulness, and open mindedness, to extend them to ourselves first.
Yeah.
I feel like that is an ever ongoing thing. Life challenges us to
Yeah.
whatever the classroom of the day is.
Mhm.
And we learn more about ourselves, like where we can be gentle with ourselves or where we're kind of harsh or, depending on the situation. And I would just love to hear from you or from anybody here, about your own journey of self-love,
Yeah.
especially as it relates to these.
Well, what I'll say about these characteristics in self-love is that the first couple are really important. Number one, trust yourself. So many people don't trust themselves.
Yeah.
And so we give all of our power away. And we run around the town saying, I can help you, I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you. And because I know what's best for you. And never do we take stock of what is really and truly right for ourselves. So like, uh, I like to keep a list of things that Maureen loves. I like to know what's good for Maureen and what's not good for Maureen. I like to know what lights her up and what shuts her down. This is just how I care for this person that I can care for. So trusting that you are responsible for this care and that you could do a really good job at caring for yourself. That's the only person you can really care for. That's number one. Number two is honesty. That's a big one. That's where we give a lot of power away because I want to care for myself, but I also want to please you. and you tell me to do something, you ask me to do something, although it doesn't light me up, I'll go, okay, I guess I can. You know what I mean? So, so to be honest, to say like, I don't really want to do that, but I can do this. I had a friend, Jody Murphy, who was telling me a story about something that she got roped into. And she was like, I don't want to do that. And we talked, and she was like, but what I do want to do is this. What this could be my contribution. And she can say that because she knows herself. She trusts herself. Those are just like minor shifts that will bring major awarenesses. And the next one is tolerance, like having, allowing yourself to really like include all of you, you know, like, your weak places, your places to grow. You don't shame them, but own them and include them and be gentle with yourself. So those first four, I think, are really like, if you get down to it with the Holy Spirit, you can make some major shifts. That first one for sure, learning how to trust yourself, learning how to trust God. Huge.
Huge.
Yeah. Huge self-care.
Yeah. And thinking about this, those are the foundation for any really healthy, nourishing relationship. And it starts with our relationship with ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Regina.
Hey, the conversation around trust and honesty. I saw something on Instagram this morning that Todd Fink said, and it resonated so much that I reposted it. And I just wanted to share the order of words that he used, because he just said you can't start with trust and then go back and do honesty. And I just kind of sat with that, and I was like, so many relationships, whether it's with myself or with another person, thinking about the times that maybe I wasn't completely honest. And yet, there's this, being a teacher of God is about trust. I don't know. There's just some relationship there between trust and honesty that I'm, I guess, exploring.
Yeah.
Like, what comes first, what comes second? I guess it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's not a ladder, it's a circle.
Yeah.
And trust sits on the circle, and honesty sits on a circle, and all of them create a circle. It's not a ladder where it feels like a ladder where you begin with one, and trust can be a foundational thing. Like, if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. But really, I would invite you to look at it more like a circle. Like, all of these characteristics are expanding your consciousness. So in equal measure, you're in the center of your consciousness, and it grows, and each of these are like holding the part of the parachute: trust and honesty and tolerance, and each of them hold it equally. And that's why at any given time you can pull one out and say, what is my oracle or elixir for this moment? Because they're all equal. They're all equal. That's what I would say.
Yeah. No, I hear that, but I think there's just still something in there to sit with that I was listening to this morning around that. But yes, I see them all as equal, because I can't see one being more important than the other, or that you have to master honesty first, then you get to trust. Yeah,
I would say, like in the realm of divine, they're all equal, but in the hands of humans, they're not. I might have a greater degree of honesty and less degree of tolerance. I might have a less degree of gentleness and a greater degree of trust. So each of us is going to meet our blocks where we have them in the patterns of our relationships. And that's why relationships are classrooms. So
yeah,
it's more about telling the truth, like what really is true for me in the moment. And if I can tell that truth, I'm going to have a more trusting relationship with myself and with the other person, because I know I'm telling the truth and I'm being really honest. It might be what is true for me in that moment, that something's going to change, or I'm going to learn something, and then it'll be something different for the next time. But it's more about checking in, kind of like what you said about Jody Murphy, like what's really true for me, and speaking and being really honest about it, not holding it back and hiding it because we're afraid to tell the truth of what is there for us. Because I think that builds trust in relationships, trust within ourselves.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
as a writer, and Will always says this, like when you write, you want to read your writing out loud because it will just feel differently. The same is true for truth. When you start contemplating, oh, this is my truth, and I don't know how to say it, then practice it in the shower, practice it in the car, practice saying your truth. I live in a house where people talk to themselves all day long. I think there's lots of conversations going on, but like that's because these people, people in my house are practicing their verbal privilege, and that's not a bad thing. We've been told so many times to shut up, to pipe down. Our vocals are just so closed, and it's okay to open it up and practice it. What I would say is practice your truth, because you might find that a truth is true for you, and then you say it out loud and you're like, oh, that's not really true. And so verbalizing, putting breath behind it is going to help. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much. Gigi Laporte.
I have to trust myself to put that camera on, to have that, let go of that fear. And I want to thank you, Beth, for the question to Maureen about self-love, because what came up for me when we went to Holy Spirit was that I need to trust myself, and that what I do, apparently, this is what I heard, is that I judge myself about what I'm going to do before I actually do it, which constricts me, of course, if I choose to move forward, but most times it prevents me from doing it. I'm judging myself for the job that I haven't done, which I find, and I know I've mentioned this before, but the first times that I've actually trusted myself and stepped into things that Holy Spirit gave to me, you know, I feel very comfortable in this environment that is speakeasy most of the time. And when Spirit, when I went to Spirit and I just had that vision for tucked into the divine, there was fear in that. And there are some nights when there's still fear in that when I do it, but I show up, and when I do, I am blessed. I am blessed by it. And even when, like I've said before, when people don't show up, if it's just me, there is some growth in there, and that is where my self-love, I think, can come in. When I listen to Maureen, well, to anybody here really, that it really enforces that idea of that one mind, because what you're saying is what I need to hear. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for every opportunity I have to open my mouth
Yep.
when I'm scared, and
Yeah.
to be able to walk through it and know that I'm not judged, at least not to my face, which is really cool, but also that if I have a big issue with it, or I need some guidance, yes, I go to Holy Spirit, but it also helps to go to people in our community, because that reinforces that as well. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is thank you. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's it.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that.
And
And might I just say, you're looking radiant and beautiful.
one thing or several things I would say about that, Jeannie, is that God, it's so powerful, first of all, to show up, to hear that internal nudge, to follow through on it, and then to show up for it, even if no one else shows up. I've shared before many times that I was, started the Miracles Live 365, and many times it was just me and one other person. It didn't matter. In fact, when I was doing this series, I said to the Holy Spirit, like, is the purpose to, get more people to come to church? And it was like, no, actually, you wouldn't be surprised if the road gets more narrow, if less people show up, because many are called, but few actually answer. But the ones who do answer, who do have this calling ringing bells in their consciousness, those are the ones you want to be with anyhow. Quality over quantity is not what the ego is about. And when you're just there by yourself, and I get the reminder that it's happening and I can't physically be on the Zoom with you, there's still something about that that tells me someone is holding space for the divine in our community. And in that, my soul is with you. So I know you might know that, you might not know that, but holding space, whether or not the physical shows up, the physical is not important. What's important is that you say yes. What's important is that I say yes. Even if nobody else shows up here, if I continue to say yes, miracles will unfold for me. If you continue to say yes, miracles will unfold for you. It's nice walking home with people, but it's not necessary.
Thank you for that. There's two other things I wanted to specifically talk about. One is this idea of with gnosis, there's no want. You know. And how many times do we move into situations that I want this? And instead, we're being called in understanding all these characteristics of a teacher of God to, okay, if I want something, then I must think something's lacking or missing.
Yeah.
If I really trust, if I
Right.
go deeper into that trust, if I'm really honest with myself, if I'm actually in this relationship with the Holy Spirit,
Right.
everything's already here.
Yes.
If there's anything more you want to add to that idea and concept, I would love
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I used to say that want was one of the most useless words unless you follow it with the peace of God. Because it is the beginning of agitations, addictions. I want, I want, I want. As an addict, I knew about wanting, longing, comparison, all of that. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want is a fierce and fiery thing to be able to embody. And it is the cornerstone of trust. If you understand that you are a trust fund child of God, you could never want for anything, because just the mere idea that it's come to you and through you, you could say, well, I know if this lights me up, then it must be authorized by the divine and it will be supported by whatever way it's supposed to be supported for my spiritual evolution. Then it allows you to move into joyful expectancy with a smile of a creator and not with like the longing of a child who's been abandoned and forgotten.
Beautiful. Yeah, we all have some version of that, don't we?
Yeah. And so if you could harness the energy of a good kid on Christmas Eve, a joyful expectancy of really embodying that. I'm a teacher of God. Like from this place, I now move into all of my lessons being holy communions, all of my lessons being blessings, all of my lessons being kind and gentle. If I'm determined to be this, I will see it and I will experience this kind of relationship with everyone I come in contact with. Just embody it. Just embody it and the rest will take place. Just become well lit in it and everything else will unfold.
Great. Thank you. Liliana.
Wednesday night, Chris and I both are a Way of Mastery course, and so I'm reviewing Wednesday night's class because I'm actually going to be facilitating it. And there's one section in there that really fits in with what this conversation is about. And one of the things too I wanted to just say before I share that is I am so appreciative of Maureen. Really, when you were going to call it the God School, when I was dealing with something that I spoke with in Speakeasy, how that really just like it was like a key that went turned, like, oh yeah, it's how am I going to show up for any given situation, and even difficult situations. What am I going to be teaching? Is it going to be kindness and love, or is it going to be defensiveness? No, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. So I wanted to just read this little excerpt from The Way of Mastery. And it's exactly pretty much what I just said. It says, you are free in this moment. You are free as you will ever be right now. How then will you use time? What will you construct out of your infinite field of awareness? What world will you look upon? What thoughts will you think? What feelings will you evoke within the cells? Where will you direct the body to be placed on a daily basis? How will you observe, or how will you enter into relationship with each moment, whether touching a dial or touching a body? It really makes no difference. What will you bring to that experience? Is it Christ touching the shoulder of another, or is it just some limited, needy self? Who will you say that you are to this world? For what you decree is instantly. There is no way out of this responsibility. Stop fighting it and birth Christ where once you thought something less than that has dwelt. It's just pretty sweet questions to ask, and it's amazing because it says love thy neighbor as yourself, and everywhere you go you have a neighbor, and even on walks by yourself you have neighbors. It's really quite beautiful.
You are the
Thank you.
poster child for Camp Sunshine, literally camping.
Yeah, my
Spitting your poetry in the tent. You're preordained for this Wednesday night. You don't even have to prepare for it. You've been prepared, and you can just show up and shine. And that is
yeah.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Maureen.
Thank you so much, Liliana. Beautiful.
You're welcome.
I wanted to say one more thing before we finished, which is when you were talking about the encounters we have with people, whether we meet them on the street or whether we agree to a certain relationship for a limited period of time, or it's a lifelong relationship. We have the ability to bring heaven to all encounters and transform ancient hatreds into current loves. And this week, I had a friend and neighbor who was traveling in Japan, and I saw a post of different places in Japan, and then they went to Hiroshima. Now, here are Americans who are enjoying being with Japanese, and they're on vacation together. And Hiroshima is where Americans dropped an atomic bomb, and how that hatred has been transformed into a current love. When I thought about that, it really made me think, for any current conflict on the planet, it can literally be transformed into love and harmony.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to hear what else you might have to say about that before we close.
Yeah, well, when you read the beginning portion of the Manual for Teachers, it talks about, and I spoke about it, one of the important aspects of this role is to bring the end of time. And so we're no longer studying history to see if we love or hate each other. We're only staying present. And in the present moment, it's easy to love everyone. It's easy to make everyone a lover. Only fear needs to hold on to history. Love doesn't need history. Love only needs presence. And that's what I would say about that.
That's a great, beautiful answer, and a great way to bring us all into presence as we close out the service today.
I keep getting the image of our logo, which is rooted and then reaching, rooted into this present moment and then reaching. And I would invite you to not only ask what is the purpose for you in this series, but also ask, where are you feeling to extend this, to invite people into the series? We're going to put the recording out each week, by Monday or Tuesday, you'll get an email. And so if you want to review it, or if you want to send it to a friend, whatever way you want to embody and extend, that would be helpful. That would be helpful to our community, because one person rooted and extending is a good tree, but many people make a forest, an orchard. So that's all I'll say about that.